We've been talking about Candace Owens and how she was kind of just taking the Russia line on Ukraine.
Yeah.
Ben Shapiro's not happy with that, it appears. And
so this is my I mean, again, like this is what I'm trying to hammer this point home, how like the right has not been so disorganized in quite a bit, right? Like they were struggling a little to find their footing when Biden won. Then they eventually landed on critical race theory after a few tries with Mr. Potato Head and et cetera. Now they're discombobulated again and kind of infighting. It's like they're the left or something. So this is another segment that we like to call Emma Watches a Clip Cold, which, as someone who likes to prepare, I don't particularly enjoy. But I trust Matt to not shock me with anything. So let's have it. Ben Shapiro's pissed off at his employee. Is he her boss?
It's interesting because he kind of acted like she wasn't working for him during the whole anti-vax stuff too. But he has to say something here.
All right.
The same people who spent years declaring that George W. Bush was a war criminal, responsible for invading Iraq for no reason other than his own pride or to seize oil, and who said dissent was patriotic, super patriotic. Now it turns out that if you are not a person who is the most militant of the militant, if you're not the most anti-Putin of the anti-Putin, then this means that you have undercut America, which is weird because, again, America is not actually directly involved in this war. America was directly involved in the Iraq war. There were American troops in harm's way. America was directly involved in the Afghanistan war. There were American troops in harm's way. And the same people who were undercutting American efforts in Iraq and Afghanistan are now saying, how dare you say things that undercut our efforts in Ukraine with regard to Russia. Now, again, I'm not in favor of a lot of the people saying what they are saying right now on the right. I disagree with Tucker Carlson about Russia and Ukraine. I disagree with Candace Owens about Russia and Ukraine. I disagree with a lot of the people I work with about Russia. And
have a debate with them.
Yeah, what does he agree with Tucker Carlson on, or disagree with Tucker Carlson on here? Because he's kind of just saying the same thing that he's been saying. It's like
Ukraine.
Right, exactly. Like everyone's trying to make us go lockstep, but
right, yeah.
But they won't go in lockstep that I want.
It's just more like isolationism. But okay, keep going.
This does not make them traitors. The left has now expanded the definition of traitor to encompass people who don't like what they say about Ukraine, and they've narrowed the definition.
I mean, we obviously agree with this, but what is Shapiro hinting at when he talks about people who were undermining U.S. troops in the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan? It sounds an awful lot like he's accusing people of being treasonous.
In fact, Matt, you're being treasonous by calling it an invasion because we were only, quote, involved in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's like the passive use of
there are troops in harm's way there.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Yeah, right. Which troops? Okay, keep going.
Of traitor to exclude people who overtly hate the United States. If you overtly hate the United States, you might actually just be a good American patriot. But if you're not militant enough on Ukraine, this makes you a traitor.
Okay, so I'm trying to draw some sort of intellectual distinction between that of me and Tucker Carlson, and yet my position on this is indistinguishable from Tucker Carlson. It's just like nationalism wrapped into the fact that I don't really have a discernible position here. That's maybe not even like, that's the thing. They have trouble differentiating themselves from Biden because exactly because what Shapiro would do in this instance is what Biden's doing. Sanctions. He's saying he doesn't want U.S. troops involved, right? Like in Iraq and Afghanistan. And he's saying that we aren't directly involved, but they only are able to appeal to their audience in opposition to the left, so they are having trouble finding their branding on this. Someone like Candace Owens is a little more brazen about it when she's just repeating what Putin said in that 2021 speech and what like Russian nationalists are saying about this, or I should say imperialists are saying about this. But someone like Ben Shapiro, like he can't find a way to be outraged about what Biden's doing here because that's kind of how he feels he would act. Yeah,
that's exactly right. That's their problem, is they have to act like this, like they're upset with Brandon somehow, even though he's basically given them what they want and all this stuff. I mean, and Dave Rubin has to simultaneously do the thing where I'm coming to Tulsi's defense and Tucker's defense for being the traitor thing. Well, he has Nikki Haley on the day before saying like what we need to do is escalate and give the no-fly zone and stuff like that, right? So then this riding both horses, it is interesting because I think from my perspective, I think the left position is kind of clear. Like, we don't support escalation or the war at all, and it should be like immediate negotiations. That isn't something I think the right can say because that's too wussy.
It's not good for their branding.
Exactly.
And they know that someone like Nikki Haley, her response, or someone like John Kennedy, who we played earlier in the show, or Senator Kennedy. Is his first name John?
Yeah.
Okay, it's confusing.
Weird, huh?
Yeah, their hawkishness is very appealing to DC and wanting to escalate, and very appealing to the power brokers there. But to their audience and to the broader public, nobody wants U.S. troops on the ground or escalation with Russia. There's a broad understanding that that would be very bad, and we're still living in the wake of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, or our involvement in them, as Shapiro would say. So there's a knowledge base and there's a muscle memory about how traumatic and horrific war is.
Trump got an applause line at a Republican primary debate, saying the Iraq war was a big fat mistake.
Yes.
And so, like, they have to have some sort of
and won the
anti-war
primary.
sentiment. Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's sort of the thing where it's like, there are the people who just came in that MAGA wave, like Candace Owens, who, like, they will take that sort of like isolationist libertarian line, even if it comes down to like defending an invasion.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Brandon, did you want to say something, or Matt? Can we hear you?
Is my mic on? Do you hear me?
Yes.
There we go. Okay. So I was trying to say something before, and everyone in the YouTube chat is going, wait, we see Binder's lips moving, but nothing's coming out.
Silence Binder.
I've been canceled.
Yeah.
Been
Sorry
canceled.
for
Patreon.
Sorry for
Patreon.com/Matt Binder. I've been canceled. Everyone go there. Fund me immediately. 1,000 patrons right now.
Cuomo said today that it's like a modern day stoning. Do you feel you were stoned for a minute there?
Well,
Matt is straight edge, so he has no context for that, I suppose.
Right. Yep.
All right. Well, if no one else has thoughts on Shapiro, we shall move to calls.
I had a hard time following. He has that sort of debate speak cadence where he kind of talks around the issue, but very quickly. And I've been watching a lot of Gilmore Girls recently, so he just reminds me of that like guy Paris starts dating in college at Yale. You know, the short one who's
yes, I know.
He's very like he's like that kind of like guy. But yeah,
Doyle.
I mean, yeah, Doyle. Who the actor, or rather the actor who plays him, very prolific writer in Hollywood. Wrote a lot of great movies, and I think maybe The Big Short actually too. But
yeah, that tracks. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, no, I mean, I think that the Republicans and a lot of America, when it comes to the Iraq and Afghanistan war, carved out a niche position of like, you know, especially after like 2004, 2005, when people were finally allowed to start criticizing without losing their jobs, carved out this niche position that you can support the troops without supporting the war, that you can somehow like, you know, support a continued aggression in the Middle East with, you know, through the vehicle of the human cost or the human actors who are in there, Gesundheit, Matt. And, you know, now that we're at the brink and the precipice of like the idea that some people want us to endanger troops again, you know, you have to square that circle. And a lot of people don't really, you know, actually about the idea of going over the fight Russia for Ukraine, a country that most people in America who are now outraged of hadn't given a second thought to like 2 weeks ago. You know, it's just another political like landscape for people to start carving out positions on. But Ben Shapiro seems to be like the least articulate.